Hi, this is Ruthellen Mulberg. A few weeks ago, upon being reminded that the matching grant for contributing to the Fernandina Beach Dedicated Conservation Fund would expire the next day, I rushed out to drop my contribution at the City Planning and Conservation Department downtown. I was greeted and offered many thanks by the several employees who happened to be at the front desk that Friday afternoon, including Director Kelly Gibson herself. After expressing my feelings on the importance of doing my part to preserve our remaining undeveloped spaces, she asked if I would be willing to share them with the community. So here I am. And why now? Well, because the matching grant deadline has been extended to November 15th, 2020, and I hope you'll take advantage of it. First, I would like to sincerely thank and commend the anonymous donor who made the generous matching offer. I have to say that knowing that the impact of any contribution that I could muster would be doubled certainly provided a great incentive for me to deliver my check ASAP. I often regret that my financial situation does not allow me to be generous as I would like to be in support of many causes that I care about deeply. Since being widowed this past March, let me just say that I must be even more mindful of my spending decisions and my definition of necessary expenses. On the surface, a voluntary contribution to the Dedicated Conservation Fund may not seem like a priority to the average citizen, but I am here to tell you why I believe that indeed it is. When we first happened upon this little island, literally by accident, in 1984, I could hardly believe that this little gem of a place was right here in the USA, no passport required. At the time, I had no idea that my husband and I would call it home for the next 11 years, and even less idea that we would move back here again in 2009. As I often said to friends and family, what an amazing place to end up by accident. From the sweet and welcoming people, to the river, to the ocean, to the amazing architecture and historical legacy of the place. I could hardly believe my luck that I would become a part of it. Even before I learned that David Yulee envisioned Amelia Island as the Manhattan of the South, I noticed that Amelia was in fact the same size and shape as Manhattan. I shuddered to think how different this place would be with the same density and human impact as the New York Island. I certainly was grateful that wasn't the case. When I took a ride up in a helicopter at a shrimp festival back in the late 80s, upon viewing that massive interior forest, all but unseen at ground level, the true wonder of this place was on full display. When we returned here in 2009, it was a shock to see the growth that had taken place since we left. On the one hand, the convenience of having many services that had previously required a trip to Jacksonville was wonderful. But I was also immediately concerned that the proverbial golden goose was heading for life support. As a trained economist, I was taught that our ideal is to allocate the Earth's scarce resources as efficiently and effectively as possible, striving to maintain equilibrium. In this fragile dance between meeting our human needs while respecting all life forms and allowing the planet to live and breathe as a single organism, I feel strongly that we are at a tipping point. We must raise ourselves above our day-to-day obligations to view the bigger picture. If we do so honestly and with an open mind from that bird's eye view, I believe it is obvious that we must refocus our priorities on the long term. We must find a way to come together and the strength to implement those actions required to sustain all of us on this planet we share. I can't think of a better place to start than contributing to ensure the preservation of as much green space as possible right here in our own backyard. I would like to leave you with a quotation that so inspired me that I read it to the Fernandina Beach City Commission during the controversy surrounding the Amelia Bluff development. If anything, it rings even truer today. Gaylord Nelson, environmental activist and a former senator from Wisconsin who championed Earth Day, said, "The ultimate test of man's conscience may be his willingness to sacrifice something today for future generations whose words of thanks will not be heard. Thank you for listening to me.